board. Welcome, everybody. Oh, and here's Bill. Join us. Neat, neat, neat. All right, so the first item is we are going to review and hopefully approve the minutes. So I just like everybody to take a little moment and review them.
They're exactly as I recall.
Oh, they are? Excellent. Does it make you feel an emotioning way?
In not a good way, but yes.
Peter, you look
Well, I'll move to
just
accept them as they are.
Yes,
oh, excellent. Do you feel seconded?
yes, I think.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
Oh, amazing, amazing. All right, I just wanted to give a fund balance report. We had about $21,000 in contributions to the fund for this month. And that brings our total to 413. So that's where we are. And I have the statement here. I can post it. So we're doing good. Oh, I like it.
21,000, when you say contribution, that's this month's.
Well, this is for May. So my guess is this is actually probably for March or April. I don't know how many months delayed.
Like a month or two behind.
Yeah, I want to say it's maybe like March.
I can say there's a lot going on out there. There'll be at least well over 100 grand being dumped into that.
I think there was like, I signed a check for the community housing board piece is like $28,000 for.
Well, this is what's going into contract
Oh.
or in contract. So figure 3 months from now.
Well, exciting for us.
Yeah.
New neighbors for us. So these are, I just wanted to kind of run through what we're going to do. I was actually thinking of maybe we could change this around. The main thing I really wanted us to work on tonight was the points update. So a lot of you, Brant, sent your feedback, and I just thought Bill and I have a meeting with Miriam on Monday, and I just thought we could go through it all together. So I think that that'll be the thing that I printed off everybody's feedback, and then Maria's, especially because she's not here. I thought we could go through it together. So if it's cool, maybe I'll have that be have that be like the last item. The easy one, the housing grant update, I spoke to the grant writer, and we're still like looking at options to
For the
survey. So I know this is like way futuring, but just trying to figure out, there's a couple different options to get a grant to get this survey. So we'd be looking to apply this fall to hopefully get it for the next cycle so that we'd be able to engage, just like backing into, figure it takes them a year to do the survey, so we'd have it in time. The worst case scenario, she did say that one of the things that seemed most likely is that it might just half the cost. So we could use the fund if we needed to, but we're going to spend a little bit more time and see if we can get the whole thing covered. So that's my update. She's been really cool. And then just another quick update. We, for the zoning, one of the things that we needed, so it's kind of a zoning RFP, we're kind of have decided on the side hustle house is what it's called, and purchased, though the plans are in purchase.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about we got that approved, but you had some cool interactions with the architect?
We have a purchase order, an invoice. It's going out to the union architects, so we're going to be purchasing the plans. $400 for the base plans and $50 for each additional use, because we're using 7. So it's $700 total. And the main architect who I've been in contact with there, offered to do site plans, like to, sort of figure out where the houses could go. And, so there's some community space or, the drafts we've been looking at that Michael Shatkin had worked on. I think this architecture firm is really keen on kind of building like cottage, community networks where everything's sited well. So I think it would be good to have an involvement.
Where is he coming from?
They're in Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
It's called Union Architects, Union Studio. And we'll see, we'll try to just get him involved with Matt Sherman, who's doing the engineering, have them coordinate on that over the summer.
Are these gonna be on slabs? Did we?
I think
I think
the
so,
last
yeah, because
recommendation
of
Matt
the,
said was
the
slab.
water
Yeah.
table.
12 South Ferry, the other ones could have full.
Yeah,
base.
yeah.
That was my recommendation too. And then to the site plans, that was like super generous of them. But if you need, we do have surveys. We do have a survey for South Ferry. But we did not have up-to-date surveys for,
Manette,
yes, The other
North
two.
Ferry,
North Ferry.
69 North Ferry, 16 Manwary Road.
Yeah,
Manwaring never had a survey from putting the,
we didn't
you know,
have,
water treatment there? They wouldn't have done one?
nobody had one. We asked around.
I don't think there was one done, but
Yeah.
I'll ask Joe Finora.
I was,
He would know.
I did ask Joe and Matt and nobody
Okay.
had them. So we put it out, we got a couple quotes, and that is also in progress. So we should have those surveys.
Those are basic surveys. They're
Yeah.
Just rectangles.
Yeah, it'll be easy peasy. And so we should have those in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then we'll give them to the architect to work on the site plans, which we'll need for the RFP. And then our zoning lawyer is ready to party, but he does need those site plans. So then we'll be able to, as soon as I have those in hand, I don't remember who's working, anyway, whoever's working with me on the zoning lawyer, we'll get together and we'll talk to him about starting that step. So we'll be starting that soon. So that's
Yeah, I'd be
cool.
happy to help with that.
Rad. I love that.
Loop me in.
Yeah, great. So with, the only other thing that I did not put on the agenda, mostly because I was totally jet lagged when I wrote the agenda, was that officially the ADU applications are open, are reopened, and it's live on their, CDCLI's site. They sent me some materials there. I think they're gonna do a mailer to Shelter Island. And I asked them they had blasted it on their social media, and so I had asked for a copy of their post with the link so that we could send it out on the town social media, but I think their social gal is out. So anyway, we'll get that out and I'll send it to Christina to send out. But they will be doing, I think, I believe a mailer and an ad in the paper.
Cool.
Yeah.
So last time
Mhm.
we talked about meetings for that, we tabled it.
Yeah.
So should we start thinking about when? I mean, I don't.
Yeah,
let's coordinate
I
with them.
mean, I think,
We want to
I
do that.
actually, I think that's like something for us to really think about. So we have, we know that people drop out, but we have 28 spots, right? We've got 6 that are like locked down with like zoning, like signed all their paperwork's ready to go. And then we have another 20 that are in some portion of, they have an interest or they have this or they have that. So I guess I would kind of bring it to this group of how do we
Do we
want?
need to or want to do another public thing, or do we just?
Let's wait a little bit
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
see how
I
the
think people are
balance
gonna
of
come out of
them.
the woodwork when they start seeing more of this come up.
Yeah.
And that those will be people who are more interested, you know,
Well, I
like
think-
an
Well, I don't
organic.
want to bump out the people that have been working on, because it
Right.
is like, oh, you have to get this, then a month later, oh, you need this,
Yeah.
it does, you can see how long the whole process
Yeah.
takes.
And
So,
now that those ADUs are in progress and getting some press, Julie Lane, great article in the paper
thank
today.
you.
I think more people will know about it, obviously, so.
I spoke with a gentleman 2 days ago
Mhm.
who had no clue there was an ADU program, lived here, reads paper, and wants one.
Great.
And, well, no, I know it's great, but my I said, how could you not know
Yeah,
about it?
yeah.
And so I don't know how an active reporter reading person, what more can you do?
I mean, we're
He
doing,
wants to do it, and I think we're done a pretty good job.
yeah,
We've done, it was like, you know what, the same person that wrote the letter that you responded to the email. Well, we've been talking about this 3 or 4 years now, come on.
and we've
I'm
done,
sorry, I'm glad you
It's not a
responded because
surprise.
I definitely
the hair
had
in
to
the back
take-
of my neck went right up.
yeah. So we have done 2, so this will be the second thing that we're gonna do directly. So I don't know, we'll just,
Does this person, do you think, make more than the income?
No, I think he and his wife are getting towards retirement age, and they want to do the mother-in-law suite, move in and
Yeah.
rent the house.
Yeah.
And, generations on the island. I was just shocked someone didn't know it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's keyed in, he's involved in local
Interesting.
stuff, so I was surprised, but.
I don't know, I mean, I think alls we can do is, keep trying to, we do the mailings and they're doing the thing and we're trying to, I feel like we've gotten a lot of good, we do that on social.
But it's reopened, I can call
Yeah,
him.
you can tell him.
Just
Yeah.
go on the website.
Yeah.
On the
well,
website.
Yeah, and if he has any issues, just email me and I will put him directly in touch with them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did tell him that you're bored and underutilized.
yeah, I'm glad you did, because I was thinking, I was like, what am I gonna do
Need
this
some
summer?
calls.
Oh my God, could I have a call? Yeah, so the other part of it is I'm actually really glad that just professionally, my life has calmed down because I already have a inbox full of stuff from the CDCLI's construction person, which also we can kind of talk about. I might ask you guys individually, because we might need another, I know Chris was doing that here. Based on the volume that I'm starting to get, we might need to help them find somebody on the island who can help with that process. But, so anyway, just put that in your mind, percolate it. If you have an idea, let me know and I can connect them. I can keep up for right now, but once those floodgates open,
Could we hire, I mean, is there a summer internship we could have used some of that money to? I don't know, an architect student, somebody who'd be interested in something like this and give them
well, here's.
$4,000.
Well, CDCLI would pay for it.
CDCLI will pay for it as through part of their fees. They're happy
Yeah.
to pay. I just have to find somebody who knows
Building,
building code and
I'm not saying there's somebody out there who's gonna do it as a summer job for,
Yeah.
knows how to do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard to expect, but who wants to learn and can take some of the pressure off you and be a gopher, that might be a little helpful.
well, it's more or less, this person wants to, okay, they go to the property, they look at a survey, make sure where it is, that the septic system, they really have to know.
It's probably not
But if you're an architect student, I assume they're.
Not unless they know Shelter Island code. Every town is different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the spirit though.
Yeah.
I like the spirit of it though, but yeah, so, but it's probably maybe semi-retired contractor with, hard goals.
I actually have somebody in the back of my mind.
Okay, well, you think about it and we'll talk after the meeting. Because they were definitely, I was like, Dave Rosen, stop emailing me. I mean, keep emailing me, but that's a lot of email, Dave. So, okay, so those are the main things I had, and I just thought we could just get into the points. So, let's see, of course, I'm totally, okay, so Mark, thank you for Mark put down the original points as Miriam wrote them, and then his idea, so that'll be where we start. So let's just jump in. Thank you, that was really helpful. I don't know why I thought printing everything was gonna be cool, but here I am. So basically, so let's just to ground ourselves, what we're talking about is the points, basically the points awarded when we're evaluating an application.
And just so how about to lay the groundwork here,
Yeah,
we're talking about 150 points. I don't know how they came up with that, but.
she just had to start with something to
Yeah.
give us,
And so that's
she used a
fine.
boilerplate.
And there's 13 categories.
There's 13 categories.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that Miriam said. she just gave us a place to start. She's like, this is like pretty standard, you can cross them off, you can add new ones in, you can up the points, you can down, but she was just like, instead of having to create something from whole cloth, she's like, let me give you something to react to. So the first one she put on there was the strength of conceptual graphic representation of project vision.
I mean,
And
it sounds like we're gonna be providing the project vision. You know, in terms of
like where,
layout, the plans and all of that.
Well, is it the alignment of what we say to what they produce?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
yeah. And so what,
Maybe even just their capabilities of
visioning,
taking, you know, think of it from a marketing standpoint,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
down the line, you know, when the applications for these things are coming up, can this firm just make a rendering, you know, attract people and
that's a good way to think of it.
reassure the public?
Yeah.
But I don't think it needs a lot of points.
So currently it's weighted in at 10. So I think everybody has put in some different, I know like I had thought to move it down a little bit. Maria basically separated them out and said graphic representation of and project vision, she did them into 2. I'm not sure what the
I think
graphic.
there was sort of a type.
Okay, got it. Okay, cool. So she had said 15 points. And so I guess I just wonder, now I'm gonna look for. Does anybody else have a feeling? Mark, you marked it as the same.
I mean, I didn't feel strongly one way or the other. I kind of feel like, I mean, there were a lot of them that are just like, these are sort of fundamental things. If you can't meet a certain minimum level of it, then we shouldn't even consider the application. And if you do meet it, I don't care if it's all whiz bang or just like, here's the facts, ma'am, and it means the same. But Brad makes a good point about, you know, the ability to market and present it and get buy-in, so.
Do we want to maybe keep it at 10? Does anybody feel strongly one way or the other? Oh, Bill, sorry. Bill, you don't have to raise your hand, just call out.
All right, my voice is a little off because of what
Okay.
happened, but
Okay.
I have it at 10, and I thought that even though we did have the we do have the project vision in a sense. I think Bran is right in terms of the buy-in, and you want to get that, and it's not just in one place, it's something that flows through the entire response.
Mhm.
So for that reason, I thought it should still stay at 10.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I like 10.
Okay, we love 10. All right,
I think
so
10 is the baseline.
10 is the baseline.
Anything important gets bumped up to 15 or 20.
I like it. So speaking of bumping up, the next one that she has is expertise in architectural and engineering services. This is weighted at a 20. And I would say a lot of us weighted at, Maria kept it the same. We kind of, there was some talk about thinking about bringing that down to 10. My gut is that potentially it's because the architecture and most of
already
the
done.
engineering has already been done.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty okay.
15?
No, I think at 10, everything is already done, the plans, what it's gonna look like, where it's gonna go if he's coming
Yeah.
down.
There was talk about, storage. You know.
Right, which might be
Right.
an
That would
additional
be and
component.
whatnot, so that, that would come into play, but, in terms of things that we're not presenting yet. But,
I feel comfortable with it about like a 10 or a
Yeah,
15 if somebody
that's fine.
feels a strong way. Okay. So I'm gonna put this as a 10. I would say, I know it's like skipping ahead, but like Where I'm really want to be thinking about is like expertise in construction, which is like that part, I feel pretty strongly about it being a 20. Like that needs to be like, built. You need to be able to build. Okay, so the third one is qualification, expertise, experience of key staff and team. So this is, she had this weighted in out of 10. I think everybody felt pretty similar to that. Does anybody feel that it shouldn't be? Okay.
I'm sorry, she had a, what?
Qualification and experience of key staff team. So basically in her suggestion, Miriam's suggestion, I say her, that's what I mean, she had said a 10. And so I think
That seems low to me.
it seems like, okay.
Because you're talking about the group that's going to be doing the project and their experience in doing the project. And you're giving them 7%, right? 10 points on 150.
Yeah.
It's 150 total points. So 7% is how good the team who's doing it is. That sort of seems low. And like the depth of the team, because you could
Yeah.
meet somebody who has a great guy who comes to the meeting and that he's a one-man show, or
Yeah.
there are 20 great people.
So do you think moving that up to like a 15? Do you have an emotional feeling about what the number should be?
I'm not sure I have an emotional feeling.
Okay. How do you have a logical feeling? Do you have
Well, I just think that that's sort of the key, right? That
Right.
these are the people we're relying on to do it. And
do you think that that should be?
I think that's a stronger,
Okay.
yeah. If we don't think they're going to show up or be responsive, or somebody's going to go to Europe and there's no depth to the team,
Mhm.
I think that's more important than,
Cool.
Yeah.
How does everybody else feel about that? I think that's pretty solid.
Liz,
Yes?
quick thing on that, two quick things. I completely agree with David. I think I had it at 15 on mine, but one
great.
thing we have to recognize, it
Mhm.
doesn't have to add to 150. 150 is an artificial number. We can have it add to whatever number we want it to add up to.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
normalize it to 100
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's good to have a limit though, because then we're like weighing these things.
Yeah.
No,
You
I
know?
agree with you, Bran, but you don't feel that
Yeah,
if
yeah, I
you
know.
add, yeah, you can
So-
you can
It should be
normalize at
relative
the
to,
end.
to each other.
The
Right.
expertise comes up in a couple other ways though.
So, but maybe
feel
what we
like-
do, so here's a thought. What if we took the 10 points that we took out of, or 5 of the points potentially, that we took out of from number
Engineering.
2 and we put it into number 3?
Sure.
Do you want, so maybe,
15.
well, let's call it 15, and then if we have 5 left over at the end, we'll put it back in there.
Mhm.
Move 4, expertise in construction at 20.
Yes,
That feels
yes,
right.
that's a given.
Yeah. Do you a different? He's weighing the numbers.
but dispassionate.
Dispassionately, not emotionally. Thank you for clarifying that.
Especially.
Yeah.
You can steal mine.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, no, I get to have all of them. Cost management at 15.
Yes.
How do you measure that, right? So what's the barometer of cost
Past
management?
projects.
Past project?
Yeah.
Bids and costs.
Not running over.
Yeah.
Right, but
Yeah, I don't know how.
they can't run, we can't pick them and know if they're gonna run over, right? So
Yeah.
They get a
Can we,
certain.
is there a way to see how they did on previous projects?
Well, I think
budget versus actual on
Yeah.
prior projects.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that would be a good, yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing is I think that we would want to see that because I mean, in our instance, we want to make sure that because if they run over, then basically they would have to skimp with the upkeep, which is gonna look, you know what I mean? Like, that's how it would,
Right, it's fixed price,
Yeah.
right? So,
yeah, it's gonna have to come from somewhere, so they gotta
right,
be able to color within the lines.
One other thing here again,
Yeah,
I read this and maybe I read it wrong. When it says cost, that's also their bid. There will be differences in the bid.
no, Bill, there's not gonna be a cost, right? Because they're gonna be serviced from the debt, they're gonna be serviced from the rent.
Yes, yes, I get that, but there's still there's going to be some bid here.
No, well, I
No,
mean,
because we're not paying
we're
them.
not paying
But
it.
there's a total cost for the
There's a-
project.
Right.
That's
And
what,
they
yeah,
might
that's,
say,
Okay,
they might say,
Yeah.
we're getting a $2 million grant, we're gonna spend that, and we're gonna put $2 million of our money. Some other
Okay.
people might say, we're gonna put 3.5 million. You know,
Got it,
that's the
okay.
cost.
right, that Brand's explaining it better than I'm explaining it. That's what, I think that there is something here because they could be putting in different numbers.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, based on what they wanna build out of,
but
So
that's
I
not really
wouldn't-
cost overrun. That, I mean, that strikes me as, that's their proposal, right? Not
Yeah.
really a cost overrun piece.
I think that the thing that maybe how we would wanna think about it is evaluating what their budget for the project is against what we think is plausible and needed for upkeep, and if we think that, you know, maybe that's our, how we evaluate it, and then maybe like previous budget versus actuals, just to see if they are able to hit their numbers as a criteria.
So maybe we rephrase this instead of cost management, we rephrase it to reflect that a little bit better, Liz.
Do you have
What you're
ideas, sir?
My brain isn't that great tonight. Project,
Okay,
you know, the project budget, et cetera.
okay,
but-
we'll make some
But by
notes.
between now and Monday, we'll come up with a better phraseology for it.
Okay, cool.
So
Yeah.
you wanted to reflect a little bit more of what is the project
Oh,
budget that they're proposing?
Yeah, proposed budget, proposed project, something to that, where it was going, what Brand was kind of saying, because that's what I was thinking.
yeah, I mean, I think that cost is budget, right? Cost.
Doesn't this come into play down the road, because if we, in our contract that we build with them, at some point, if we need an out, we're going to have some sort of mechanism for the town buying them out.
Mhm.
So we are going to be somewhat cost conscious, because if it, like, something goes
Right, if they-
terribly wrong.
They build it, oh, it's gonna cost 6 million and
Yeah, and then, then
Yeah.
it's for us to take it.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna rephrase that, but keep it at 15.
Yes, because I think
I agree.
it's very important for the valuation.
So number 6 is financial strength as reflected in financials delivered and proof of bonding capacity.
that should be high.
So this is at 10. Do you feel like we should move this to 15?
I've seen so many contractors take money, never even like show up or delay, and
Yeah,
it happens all the time.
so we do have 5 left over. Should we move this to 15?
Yes, I would say so.
Any? Okay, so there's a bunch of ones below 7 through 13 that are somewhat related. So as you read them, just make sure. So I'm gonna read through what they all are, so you have like a sense of if you don't have it in front of you. So 7 is similar projects, community housing experience. 8 is previously completed projects, compatibility and appeal. 9 is familiarity with applicable federal, state, local laws, regulations with respect to construction and affordable housing compliance. 10 is knowledge of Shelter Island vernacular and aesthetic. 11 is familiarity with design, wellness, holistic design. 12 is eco-green design. And then 13 is experiencing leasing and management of affordable housing. So some of those are like, feel a little squishy in there together. So so the next one we have is similar projects, community housing experience. She has this weighted at 10.
I think that's good.
Does anybody?
And then the other ones, we can dictate to them what we want, you know what I mean? I don't think they should be
Yeah.
really high.
I don't know what I put, but at the moment, I feel like it merits a bit more.
Yeah, so you had moved, that one to 15.
Okay.
And then you had also said that you wanted it to be 15 for previously completed projects compatibility and appeal.
That sort of ties into the,
They're both sort of,
They feel related.
yeah.
I mean, I almost wonder,
do you need to?
yeah, I mean, could we combine them and make them 15 together?
7 and 8.
Yeah, do we just make 7 and 8 like
Yeah, I
project
mean-
Do you combine them and make
But
it
the-
20?
Since we're dictating what this thing is like,
Yeah,
do we need anything about previously completed appeal? It's like,
I would
theory, if we build
say,
it to our specs, they're not having any influence on it.
I think,
correct, that's what I think.
yeah,
But I think there's a part of it, I assume we're gonna do due diligence on whoever it is.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully the next time somebody's in X place, we're gonna drive by their projects and
yeah.
and see what the quality is, talk to the residents, do you like it, is it falling apart? You know, that kind of thing, so.
Yeah.
I think some of these points, the question is, what's the timing between them submitting and our ability to do some of our own work to diligence the submissions?
I'll ask Miriam what, you know, do you have a suggestion that you think would be like a standard or a good? I mean,
Because if somebody's done 10 projects and someone's done 3, you know, you go drive around and look,
yeah,
you get a feel, you know, talk
I
to the
mean,
residents.
my guess is that it would be probably like 60 or 90 days or something while we're evaluating these, just because we'd have to do, I'm sure we would do public hearings, we would bring it to the town board, we would have, you know, we would want the process to be really open. I can't imagine it taking less than that, which I think if we were doing, again, it's just like vibes, but you know,
Yeah.
like 60 to 90 days feels, I think would be enough time to,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
We just have to be, you know, we need to drive around and look at their work
yeah.
and talk to their residents. Are they happy residents or itchy residents, right? So.
And, you know, we'll probably also, the feedback that I've gotten is that what we're likely to see is we're likely to see a builder connected with someone who's gonna manage it, so they might be bidding in a team, so we'll wanna check out both folks.
Liz,
Yes, Bill?
one quick thing here. I see some slight differences between 7 and 8. I know people are kind of putting them together. I think
Uh-huh.
7 is more focused on, to me, community housing experience. Why
Uh-huh.
8 could be beyond just community housing experience, and that especially if there is management involved, I think that there can be some distinctions here, and we want to be able to look beyond just the community housing experience to see what else these people have performed. So I think having it, you know, like 10 points each, I think is fine, because there might be distinctions that we're going to be making, and it's going to be able to be incorporated if we recognize one is more focused on community housing and one is on all experience, including community housing, but it can go beyond community housing.
Like general construction and or management?
Yeah, yep.
How does everybody feel about?
Yeah, I would say keep them separate. I
But
put,
just lower.
yeah, I put 5 points for
Yeah.
community housing experience, and I put 10 points for appeal.
I would swap that. Because the appeal, we're dictating what we want it to look like,
Yep,
Okay.
but
And
we
then
want
we-
them to have.
We also have
community
another
housing.
option down below, the leasing affordable housing
Which
project.
is, yeah, that's at
Which
20,
is,
which I feel pretty
Yeah, I think.
strongly about
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
staying at 20. So we're
Okay, so
talking about potentially keeping
7 at 10
10,
and
and-
5 for 8.
okay. Okay. Familiarity with applicable federal, state, local laws, regulations with respect to housing and affordable housing compliance. This is a 10.
I just baseline, that's 10.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
surprise,
Is there-
surprise, I put it up to at least 15.
yeah.
I have a question. Is there something that they could do that would jeopardize the grant? Is there something a builder could do that puts us at risk of loss, other than being a bad builder?
Yeah, so if they took, if they took the 2 million from the county, and didn't follow through with like the leasing guidelines or whatever, basically like the AMIs that were set by the county, it could jeopardize it once it was built. The county will give you a lot of opportunity for remediation. But
And they're not gonna get the 2 million in one fell swoop. I'm sure it'll be at least 3 or 4, it'll be 20%, you get one payment. 50% completed, you get another. That's usually
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah.
Then the final payment, once it's all see a vote, inspected and good. then
But
they
I,
get
but I
paid.
think that the issue is because don't die, Mark. Because the money is contingent on renting to a certain, demographic, with like income requirements, I could see how, if I think that there might be a case for putting that at 15, because if they went for county or state or other grant money, which we've talked about, we don't think it's plausible without it,
Right.
then they would have to navigate that. And if that was part of the financing that they had to put together, there could be potentially like exposure for us, because we would be, owning the,
Non-compliant,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, like what happens if they decide that they want to start renting it at market?
And when you were,
I don't know, I mean.
when you were talking about bonding and financial stability, right? So presumably if they're not renting would we have an action against?
I think that would have to be in the agreement. It has to be. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Right, it has to be, and if you don't,
I
there's
don't know there has to be
Well,
some sort of.
financial.
It would be, the cool part actually about doing the county money is that the county would have recourse, right? So that would already be the income limitations would be mandated by the county, and they would have reporting that would have to come, they would have to be monitored by that. So the cool part about, not only is it extra money, but the county would be managing
Right.
where those leases, who's the tax return. I mean, they have to turn them in, I think, every year, every 2 years to renew the lease. So it would be that part of it by them. So,
But I think it goes to your point that since this isn't just building it and you're done, right?
Yeah.
The
Managing it.
financial strength
yeah,
is that much more important going forward. And
And even if it was like the town bought it, we would have to follow the same income guidelines down the line. It's in perpetuity.
yeah.
right,
But so maybe, what do you guys think about moving that to 15? Because they'll have to navigate all the county and the
that's
federal. and
work.
there's a lot of back office.
It's a lot of back office. Yeah, a lot of back office and compliance.
Sounds good.
Knowledge of Shelter Island vernacular and aesthetic.
That's low.
5, design wellness.
We're gonna ask them what a
Design.
hair legger is, I mean.
Yeah, there's gonna be a quiz. It's the mayor question. You know, I think I feel like those are fine at 5. Mark, I did want to point out that I know you had put green design at 10. And I hear you.
A nicety. But,
You know, New York State now, building codes are so strict. They're almost LEED compliant. They're so strict, but I know like we want to try and get solar on them and everything.
yeah,
You know, we had talked about, I mean, I think that we could also, it is something to think about, like I know in the first, one of some of the first renderings that we've had of South Ferry, we talked about doing like a community garden and like access to green space. So,
and there may be grants just for that kind of thing that could be, you know, tapped into.
well, and here's the thing is, really, we're gonna need the grants if it's gonna incur extra expense. So I think that what this would be a metric of is kind of evaluating kind of how aware they are, you know, like, hey, if you wanted to have a community garden, you would put it over there. Hey, I noticed that you've got, you know, wetlands. Have you thought about doing these kind of plantings around it? So I would say that there is like an awareness of it. So, I mean, I would be open, let's go through it, and if we can figure out, I don't think we have another 5 points, but if we did, I'd be totally open to adding points to the green. So,
What are we at now, 5?
yeah,
I would definitely put it at 10.
okay. So what would we,
I think you're at -5 still. You still have 5
Well, and as
points.
Bill noted, you don't have to.
Yes, but I like, 150 is a good round number. 13 points is hard. 13 categories.
I thought I had been doing like the plus and minuses, so I thought
yeah, so we're down, because we're down 10, and then we added 5.
like number 10 was 5.
Well, we did
Liz?
13?
Yeah. We
A
haven't done
little-
13. Yes,
Yeah,
Phil?
in terms of 13,
Mhm.
I think it would be good to rephrase this slightly and have
Okay.
it say experience in leasing and management, including affordable housing, as opposed to just with affordable housing, because if they have broad experience, you want to be able to give them
Yes.
other points for that. And if it's
Yeah,
beyond just affordable housing, then I think that stays at 20 and you're then at 150 because I've been tracking as we go along.
okay.
Yeah, I would put that category at 20 points, and I agree that
I could, yeah, we can rephrase
including is
that.
better than of.
Yeah.
So then we would rephrase 5 and 13.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, so in an argument against considering the other types of
Uh-huh.
leasing and whatnot, I mean, if you had like the Halliburton of leasing companies, but they didn't do anything affordable housing and they just had, you know, 100 billion a year in rental management stuff, and then you had local company B, all they did was affordable housing, but it was a total of like, you know, 6 million a year. Would you still want the big guy to sort of get more points for that? Because I think the point is that this is a different animal.
right, but I think
Not
that,
trust Dick Cheney.
It was merely an example.
um,
Nothing about billions of dollars missing from the food budgets and.
but, you know, I
Oil.
think that we have number 7, which is similar projects, community housing, experience speaks to it. And then number 9, familiarity with laws in respect to construction and affordable housing compliance. Now at 15, I think would potentially, you know, if you had somebody who didn't have any, then they would get very low scores there.
I
Okay.
sort of agree
Okay.
because I think at one level you're talking about if multifamily occupancy in the US is 94.7% and it's trending down because of overbuilding. Okay, and that's kind of what you're talking about, right? Is how do you get people in the door and traffic and people walking space versus
Yeah.
somebody who knows how to deal with the community and the cohort we're trying to develop for and has experience with
Yeah,
that.
so
I think that's more important.
like what I'm got out of this and why I sort of weighted it as I did was that this to me speaks to the user experience.
Okay,
And,
yeah,
whereas just, these sort of, I've rented a lot of places in a lot of places and they weren't always good experiences.
Yeah.
Because the dollar is the bottom line here, but it is, there are parameters and whatnot. And we're talking about lower budgets and whatnot. And so that, I don't know, I could see it requiring a different hand in the management of this kind of thing than it would for a big apartment complex in DC,
Mark,
It totally does.
Yeah.
but Mark, if we
Yes.
just, it says experience in leasing and management, including affordable housing. We're not just saying by that if they have tons of experience doing apartment buildings in DC, we can give, we'll give them 20 points. What we're saying is that we're evaluating it based upon their experience in leasing and management, including affordable housing. We can talk to people where they have been, who have been the people who have rented in the past and their experience, and we can weight it that way. We're by saying experience in leasing and management, we're not just saying, oh, they have a lot of experience, they're good. It's the experience. So we can do, we have, for our due diligence, can do much more and can get to exactly what you're trying to say.
All right. I mean, I don't see the advantage of, we were talking about a specific project here, and we're, in other places, we're sort of really focusing in on that type of project. I don't think the other leasing experience outside of the affordable housing projects adds that much to our analysis, is all. Now, I'm not gonna, we're not gonna go outside and duel over it, if it's strong opinions otherwise, that's fine, but I just want to make myself clear that I don't think that adds to the analysis.
But I guess we have the discretion to,
Sure.
wait it.
to.
Weight it any way we want.
To
Right,
listen.
weight those 20 points.
And so we're not bound just because they have the most to give them the
Right.
points.
So the biggest.
Absolutely.
As long as that's the case, then I think that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so do we feel okay, given that, to keep it or to change the language?
Let's change the language, yeah.
Okay,
And we're keeping it at 20 though?
At 20.
yeah, we're keeping it at 20.
So did we add it up with 150?
We did not add it up yet, but
We did.
we're good.
Yeah, we're good. 10, 10, 15, 20, 15, 15, 10, 5, 15, 5, 5, 5, 20.
Got that, did you?
No.
Say that again?
150.
I know, David's,
Underneath.
no, you're 5 points. Right.
7.
10, 10,
20,
20, okay.
15, 15, 10, 5.
Five.
That's, I
15.
had that one written down. 15, 5, 5, 10, 20.
That-
Oh.
That does
I think that-
Oh, is 12 5 or 10?
10.
Then we're at 155.
But it doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. These are, we've got relative weights here.
Right, I
It
agree.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I had that written down wrong.
Okay, all right, so Bill, once your head clears, let's think about the language, and then Bill and I have a call with Miriam to present this, to talk through this, to talk with her about our thoughts on this, today, as well as the other notes that everyone has given. The other thing that I am really excited to talk to her about. I think we talked about this at the last meeting, but I think it's to keep it open and keep talking about it, is, you know, one of the things that has come up is around eligibility for the housing, and strict scrutiny. And so what we found out, Bill, you might have to explain this, I'm gonna try my hand at it, is that to comply with fair housing law, which regardless of taking any kind of state or federal or county money, you have to, just if you're gonna build something, comply with fair housing law, so it doesn't matter. You have to pass a non-discrimination test. Is that, am I telling lies?
No,
And
so far so good.
great, okay. So if we limited it solely to, you know, so we kind of looked on like, how do we, obviously, we're gonna have an income eligibility, but if we had solely to be for people that were currently already Shelter Island residents, we would not pass the strict scrutiny law because of the makeup of Shelter Island currently. So.
The only change to that, it's not a law. Strict scrutiny is a test.
Thank you. And so Miriam told us that. So she said that what we would look at is we could look at working on Shelter Island. So to see if that would pass. So basically she's looking at census data to see if that would pass strict scrutiny. Now, the other thing that had come up was, okay, but how does that, so I feel like that follows the spirit of what the community has told us. But the one thing that we weren't sure that it really included was, what about people that are already members of this community that maybe don't work in the community? You know, like I'm thinking of a specific individual who is a school teacher off island, but is a deep part of this community. So how do we account for folks like that? And so Miriam had brought up thinking about adding volunteer work or activity in the community. So she had a couple ideas for how to weave that in. So basically kind of expanding that category of work to not just paid, but community work.
I didn't think you could do that, Ken. I thought you were stuck with,
A free-for-all.
yeah.
No, basically on that one, what we said, because we went back and forth a bit, and I had suggested that we define working as both getting paid for work and doing work on Shelter Island, and that certain services as volunteers would be defined in working, so that it would be encompassed by the definition of working, in particular, fire and EMS. And Miriam thought that had charm, but we're not saying that it's a slam dunk.
And it also still also doesn't help the teacher.
The off-island teacher.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
she could do other work on the island,
But there's a lot-
volunteer. Senior citizens, things like.
yeah, I mean, but how does that help? Yeah, I mean, the people who are, part of this is to be available to the elderly,
Yeah, no, and that's.
who would not be volunteering
So
anywhere.
here's so this is kind of the thing is, where there's kind of really two paths where we kind of try to navigate this meaning of work or, some other meaning so that we can kind of encompass it.
Mhm,
Or, which is the real other path, is that we don't put a limit on it.
mhm.
So then we don't have to have all these artificial, well, you can be a teacher off island, but if you don't volunteer in this capacity or whatever, so, but that's kind of I think people have a lot of nervousness about that path, but it would definitely be the most inclusive to the people that we want to serve.
Yeah.
Here on the island. So
Do
it's,
you have any, in people's discussion with East Hampton, any sense, because their project's clearly much, much bigger. How many people from down island moved.
Yeah.
Ronkonkoma moved out
Right.
there, yeah.
Yeah.
Was this, this is an issue?
I think what
Is it a real issue or
what
just?
they've said is anyone who is not currently in the zip code is people moving back because they had to move, you know. It's people who maybe went to high school there and moved up island, but then they could come back home.
Yeah, they had Casey's take on it, and the same that I heard from Curtis Highsmith, was they had very few people who had no connection to the community previously coming in to be part of the community. Now, it's not to say that that is not possible, so that's just to be super real, that is possible, but in practice, that's not something that they saw.
So how does this get advertised?
Well, that
How do
is
people
part-
find out
so
about
this
this?
is, so this is actually also part of the marketing plan, which is part of the RFP,
Yeah,
right? Because we are guided by, you know, where we would market and how we would
Right, publicize.
publicize that,
Yeah.
which is why,
Are there requirements on the Fair Housing Act to sort of put an article in Newsday that please come, or can it be a local mailing, right? I mean.
so this is all kind of part and parcel of what we're working on with Miriam right now. So we'll probably, you know, Bill and I will have an update for you guys.
Still needs a lot of language work.
It still needs a lot of language work. I think she was kind of like looking for some clarity, and we wanted to kind of see if there was a path around the working and as an idea.
And the one thing is, once it's done, right, the owner
Mhm.
just cares that it's full. And so we care for the reasons you mentioned.
Exactly. So
But
that's why we want
They
to,
care because if they have an empty unit. And
Yeah, they don't-
they're fine with someone from Ronkonkoma.
exactly, which is why we want to be as thoughtful about it on the front end as we possibly can be.
I think most of those notices will be in the, like, legal notice of a newspaper. Who reads those anyway?
I do, but.
dispatch.
David, dispassionate, yes, thank you.
Passionately. But the reporter is not read, I'm not sure that the regulation in Babylon, so.
Right.
Are we worried about that? Right, so.
I think that there is trepidation in the community about that. I think that the lived experience that we've heard from East Hampton and Southampton is that is.
Yeah.
It's not as big, but you know, but I can understand.
But they couldn't, they couldn't rule that you had to be from the zip code, right? That's illegal.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't pass because.
That one's easy.
Yeah,
The zip code and having to be from here is easy. I mean, New York City is lost on that. Oyster Bay is in
Okay.
serious attack on that.
Yeah,
And
well,
that's
I
just the
think we have
reality
to-
of what happened, not the
yeah,
law.
yeah.
Right, okay.
Right. So one of the things I think we have to understand here is that there isn't a bright line law that we can say if we do X, it's going to be no problem. It's unfortunately squishier than that. We have to try to come to the best thing. As Liz said, there is a lot of self-selection because we are an island that people are not necessarily going to want to come to because we're inconvenient, but that doesn't mean they won't apply to it. So the fewer eligibility requirements you have, the better off you are, as long as there is some realistic and, non-discriminatory, marketing plan. And there's ways to maybe, and this is a maybe, do some weighting of these things and do it sort of in the lottery, sort of like the NBA lottery. You get extra balls for something, but you don't, everybody could get a ball to start with. So there are things to try to play with this, but this is a difficult area and is going to remain a difficult area, through the process.
Is there pre-leasing allowed?
It's a
I
good
don't think
question.
so.
I don't think so.
No, I think once it's all done, everybody's name goes into a hat at a certain date, somebody pulls names out of the hat. That's
Yeah,
how
I
it
mean-
was on the Bowditch Road site.
Yeah, and our thought would be is that there would be, all of this is about qualifying, and then once
But
people,
the Bowditch site was getting a grant for something, right?
There was no grants there.
no,
That was
it was a construction loan that turned.
a
into a
construction
grant.
loan
Correct.
grant.
Yeah,
Here, if I'm developing an apartment building, I can pre-lease coming 2025.
well,
Right?
it might
Except
be limited, it might be
now.
limited by the county money if they take, should they take it. I don't know what the specific limitations are.
I'm just saying if we can pre-lease, at least you could probably,
But you have to give everybody a chance.
yeah, I understand you have to give everybody a chance, but if giving everybody a chance is a notice in the reporter and,
Have your application in by such and such a date.
right, and,
Deliver in person, then come in for an interview the next week, follow-up interview the following week.
Somebody coming from Ronkonkoma getting on that ferry is not gonna like it.
right, so I'm just saying that
Yeah,
maybe that's a way of,
yeah, well, that's a great idea. We'll talk about it with, I'll bring it up with Miriam.
I sent you guys an email a couple weeks ago now, something from East Hampton, which was that recent. We talked about it at the meeting a little bit, I think, or the presentation, but anyway, it's a 50-unit apartment building in Springs, and they have the application up. So see your
Yeah.
email somewhere, take a look at it. You can look at their application, for the lottery to get into this part and see what language they have.
Okay,
That's a good
And
idea.
it wasn't, it's all about income.
cool.
It was the one, East Hampton Project, 3 Mile Harbor.
Yeah,
The
that's it.
It's actually a very nice development.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing amazing. Southampton's struggling, but Hampton. The other thing I wanted to also just say is I ran into a local housing advocate, some of you might know, Michael Daly, who sits on the Southampton board. He stepped down, he's going to the.
He's YIMBY.
Yeah, he's the YIMBY guy, but he has stepped down because he's going to the County Economic Development Board to serve on a county-wide level, to give out some of their funding. I ran into him at a CAST situation.
Cool.
And one of the things he had suggested, and I'm just kind of like putting out there, I guess it's technically new business, but he had suggested that we looked into getting certified as a pro-housing community, which I don't think would be either like making sure that we had enough like new units in construction, which I don't think that we would pass muster. But we could also, the other path would be to get the town board to do a resolution. And it might make us available, additional funds for us. So I have a follow-up call with him to kind of talk about that, but next meeting, I'll have some more information about other funding. And Amber, maybe we can have a conversation about like what that would look like. So I thought that was like really
you're saying if we want to be a pro-housing community,
Mhm.
you have to be a pro-housing community. You can't,
Yeah, crazy, huh? I know, it's really weird. Yeah, so there's like some specific,
There's some requirements.
yeah, you don't just get to like, yeah,
I understand, but it seems silly because we're working towards a goal and we need your help. And
yeah.
you're saying we already have to have crossed the finish line before you'll provide that.
No, or you can say that you have a
In progress.
resolution and in which you can kind of, like, there is a second path.
Okay,
Yeah, and so, but it's just a little bit, we'd have to say, hey, we have these in development, this is what we're trying to do, and that's how we want to qualify because look at all this work that we're doing. But it's just a slightly different path. So I was gonna just talk to him about what that looks like. And also, because I love money, what kind of funding that would make available to us. Because I'm sure we'll figure out a way to fund it.
That would be important.
Vegas, I've said it every time.
I know. I just gotta get a little bit more, just a little bit more for this housing, David, and then 2025, Community Housing Board in Vegas.
It's a conference.
Yeah, it is.
I want to go. I have to go.
Yeah, it's for work. Old business?
I don't know that.
Old business now.
Okay, new business.
I just have a quick thing I want to mention. I was approached on a house that potentially is going up for sale by somebody who wants to keep it in community housing. And just the price they were offered would make that unfeasible. And so my question is, with the 400,000,
Mhm.
and I don't know how you do it, is there a way if you're willing to buy the house and we put in some capital at a very, very, 50 basis points return on our preferred, as long as you keep it affordable?
I would say in theory, yes, we could do something like that. The thing that I feel like we're bound by would be how we said that we would spend the money in our community housing plan for the next 5 years. So I don't think that we outlined it. I can kind of go in and kind of take a look, but I think that we are bound by, because I think we basically identified with the community, we have these 3 uses which we're gonna prioritize. So I think we could, I don't know if we could kind of come up, you know what I mean? Like that would be,
Yeah, the numbers don't, prices are so high for houses
I know.
and mortgage rates are so high. For an investment property perspective, they don't pen out real well today.
What's the price that they would be looking at to sell to keep it affordable?
The potential buyer was trying to make a 5% return. Right, and so he did the math based on what it was an unsolicited offer for the house by a neighbor who wants to tear down the house so that they can have a better view. Sounds very Shelter Island-y. And so that's all. And so he's saying, okay, I can get an 80% mortgage or 70% mortgage because it's non-owner occupied. And it's probably a jumbo, so it's non-qualifying mortgage,
Right.
7%. So if I'm trying to make a 5% based on, what is it? It's a 4-bedroom house, so I think that's, what, $2,400 a month? Is that about right?
For a year-round rental, that's inexpensive.
I understand, but isn't that Nassau, Suffolk? What's,
Oh, that would be even more.
I don't know,
That
I
would be-
think
24 was like for the 2-bedroom.
Yeah, 24, so we're talking probably like a 3,000,
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
so I said, I thought it was around 2,500 because I didn't see a big jump.
Yeah, maybe.
Two and-
I don't
two and
remember that.
four.
I don't remember the HUD rates, but I think,
So and then
Yeah.
fill the gap that way so that they make 5%.
yeah, I think,
And the new buyer either has to, either keep it or
I think,
do something. It's probably too early.
Yeah.
it is too, I think you're right, it's too early, but I think it's an interesting way to think about leveraging the fund to do something like that. Potentially, also if we were able to find sources of income to put into the fund outside of the transfer tax. And, you and I had actually talked about doing like a private financing kind of situation, which CDCLI is very excited to, when you have some time, to sit down with us to kind of figure that out. I think that absolutely could be a potential, you know what I mean? I think that there could be different, I think it's a good path. I think it's too early for us in the fund right now, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't be
We,
second.
we don't have enough,
We don't have enough.
we don't have enough to have, and have enough to do all the other things we have to do yet.
Yeah.
But I was thinking if it's 100,000 and you could get, you know, we had 1 million sitting there and you could get 6 homes.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Right?
Oh, yeah, no, I think
That made a ton of sense, but when I ran the numbers, it was something like 350,000.
but I mean, I think,
That's that's a program we should be looking at in the future, and some communities are doing it, like a deed restriction.
yeah,
And I forget where it was, but I think, you know, some places were giving like, you know, 5% of the value of the home. You know, and then the
If,
home,
if you agree to,
do a deed
the
restriction.
year, like with the ADUs, it would be a year-round lease, rented at,
exactly,
you
Yeah.
know,
at affordable rates.
No, and I think that like doing something like that, I think would be great. I think it would be something that would be popular with the community. And so for me, what I really think about it is there's other stuff that we have to do. We have to do these rentals, we gotta, so for me, it's like a game of like keep away to like not, if we can find outside funding
Yeah.
sources so that we're not using the fund, then we can use,
Let it build up
we
to.
can let it build up and we can use it for this. So
I
that's
think
what,
we'd also have to legally research this and like
oh, yeah.
institute as a program.
Well, what I'm thinking about is I think it's a really interesting idea
Yeah.
for our next,
Yes.
you know,
After these 10 are done.
yeah, basically, because when we get to, for our next cycle of the community housing plan, which will be in 2 years, which I know seems like forever, but really will probably just be, maybe, hopefully we'll be mid-construction with this, hopefully we'll have most of the ADUs done. And then we'll hopefully, if we haven't, if all's gone well, we will have played keep away with this money. And so we should have some cash built up. And so coming up with a plan at that point.
Be looking for a new program.
I was actually
Yes,
shocked at
exactly.
how fast this account is rising. I was like 5%, we're not gonna get, it's gonna take 20 years to get any significant. 0.5%, yeah, 0.5%.
But like, that's like the whole thing is just like, for me, is like really thinking about like I said, like not using it, like find like I'll find a grant for the study and this for the that, and you know, like just.
Every time a house goes into contract, I get, I'm like, some more money, I write it down.
I just get worried about, I mean, what struck me is somebody's gonna buy, who's built a McMansion and tearing down
Yeah.
a 2,300 square foot house so that they have a
Yeah.
better view seems abhorrent.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, well, it
so, you know, to protect, it not only provides affordable housing, it protects us from, you know,
Mansions, yeah,
the McMansion issue. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that we have so many issues on so many fronts right now, it's like, I do think that will be, I think that addressing like deed restrictions and thinking about home ownership, I would
I'd
not,
like to see after this done, shoot
Yeah.
for a home ownership.
I think like both of those kind of issues,
But again, it's property. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Where we can,
Yeah.
Well, I would even imagine with like home ownership, thinking about maybe being like, I'm just spitballing here, but being able to, depending on where interest rates were, maybe being able to, you know, offer like lower point mortgages to be able to get folks into there, maybe with a partial grant or something like that. Like, we wouldn't have to put in everything, but we could also, that would keep the money in circulation.
correct, yeah.
So I think that but we have to have a big pot of money to make that go, right?
And we're getting there.
But we're getting there, and we're getting there.
and we're going to Vegas.
And also Vegas, if I can like find even more cash. But maybe just
If you just get the 36 red, double the fund, we don't need the house sales.
That's true, that's true.
Anything for Julie?
Julie, do you have anything? I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
She didn't say.
Okay,
Unmute.
okay, cool.
Oh, here she is.
Oh,
I just want to say the two families that we spoke to, I was enthused by the fact that both of them are talking about long-range plans, wanting to not necessarily make a mint. They're not looking at this as a means, even though they're not held to the affordable level with ADUs. They really just care about the island. And hopefully there'll be others who are doing ADUs who will have the same feeling about the long-term needs and, not just trying to somehow get rich for themselves. So it was kind of a very satisfying two to start with as we talk to them.
Good.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for that article.
Yeah, and I mean, and just for fun, those just happen to be, I mean, they are both like extraordinary families, but those were just literally the first two.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't,
In
I
New
didn't
York
I didn't cherry pick them. Those were just actually those were the top two on my list. So, but yeah, thank you so much for helping us get the word out, Julie. We really appreciate it.
Amber has something.
Yeah, I just have a couple things.
Yeah.
The 4-bedroom, the HUD rate for 2024 is $3,521, if you want that figure. And I don't think that printer's turned on, or else I'd print out the chart for you, because I know you like to crunch
That's
numbers.
wild to think about.
But that's the fair market rate,
Yeah.
right? So that's,
No, I know, but
That's
just,
a lot of money.
let's say that's
still-
100% AMI.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what 100% AMI should be paying? Is that what we're kind of
Yeah.
saying? So like, if you want it to be affordable, you might want it in the 60 to 80% AMI.
Yeah.
If you want it low income, it's under 60.
Alright, so I had a couple of this, just.
okay, yeah, go for it.
Barbara Bloom, she usually goes to the community development block grant meetings the county has. And somewhere her contact said, I hear you're working on affordable housing, and we might have some extra money. have
So
no idea.
hold on, I actually want to say something about that because I went to our grant writer, and when I went to Association of Towns, that was my number one funding source. They were like, go get a block grant. And when I talked to the grant writer, she's just like, you have internal competition from the town to get the block grants and you have to do something else. But I know that there's block grants for it.
Yes, but there is, it sounds like there might be a little extra money, so there's a meeting on June 26th at 10 a.m. in Riverhead. Barbara's going to go, because she always goes to,
Okay,
because she's
cool.
the coordinator.
Right.
I actually have availability that day, so I can go, but I didn't know if anyone else from the community housing board.
Well, I mean, it's about getting the grant, right? Okay, so I have been to those meetings.
Okay.
And so I know that we're gonna qualify, which is why I went to the grant writer. So I know that it is a perfect fit. But we just we would have to apply for additional money. It's a slam dunk with that block grant to get the whole survey done. So I've already been to the seminar and I
go
can,
just to.
but yeah, you should, it's cool. And then but yeah, it's like, but I think what we have to do is convince the grant writer to please add it to the block grant because.
Yes, well, it's not even the grant writer, it's more like we've teed up, like, we've been working on ADA for the past couple
yeah.
of years, so, for Justice Court, that was 1 year of the grant.
Right.
And then, Police Department, that ADA.
Yeah.
upgrade. So I think we're looking at 2025 possibly then. what
Yeah,
would
and we
apply
would
for.
only need like,
And before that is
25
ADA for.
yeah, no, totally, but I guess what I'm saying is like, I know that which is what I went to her, which I was like, there is extra money that's available specifically for housing. So you could do whatever the town is doing, do the ADA thing, but maybe just like add a little on
Yes.
top of it because there's extra money there. And so that's what I've been kind of going back and forth with the grant writer.
Yes.
So if you could help me,
Yeah, and I'm gonna go because their cycle is so hard to understand.
yeah,
It's like, okay, you apply by this date, you get notified by this date, but don't spend the money before this date, and it's like, there's so many.
yeah, which is why I was trying to
Yeah.
start to, but yeah, that is my understanding as well. And so maybe if you go and you have understanding and words to help me with the capital committee, that would be super cool. It's awesome. Yeah.
Just for confirming, June 25th, you're coming to the town board to talk about
Yep.
design selections and preliminarily on the RFP.
Yeah, I thought I was coming this week,
Oh, okay.
but
It's
I was
next
just
week.
joking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that was the joke.
Yeah, when Christine asked me, I'm like, no, it's like later in June, so.
Anyway, for some reason, we talked about doing both dates, but something must have happened in the meantime. but
Last thing Meg, reminded me today, because she knew I was coming to the
Uh-huh.
council board meeting tonight. She's on the Green Options, the ETIP subcommittee.
Uh-huh.
And so her question was, how detailed are the housing plans that we're gonna be getting on the side hustle?
very, very detailed.
Okay, because when we get those, if she can give those to the ETIP grant consultants, they can do an energy code analysis on it, and that would help us figuring out cost benefit for some of the solar and heat pumps.
Awesome, yeah.
That might help us with grant applications.
Great.
Yeah, we'll get them as soon as we get them.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you, that's a lot, that's great. I'm excited to hear about the block grant would be like, I mean, could we use the fund, but I'm stingy with our fund money. It's just like, do you feel motiony?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, have a great night.
What time is the town?